Shall we play a game?
Hello and welcome back to Vintage Gaming Memories. If you love what Atari brought to the world in the 1970s and 80s, or perhaps remember the excitement of owning or wanting to own those handheld games that were advertised on television and in department stores during that period of time, then be sure to subscribe because I'll keep those memories fresh for you along with other vintage items from pre-1990. Now I'm excited about this video because it's Atari related and a mod that I've been wanting to get for some time. It's taken probably a couple years because of the chip shortage, and when it was available, it sold out quickly. So in this box is the Sophia 2 by Simius. If you're not familiar with it, in general terms, it's basically a video output upgrade for the Atari 8-bit. And this one specifically is for the XL and XE Atari computer lines. So this will provide me with the best quality I can achieve on my Samsung 4K HD TV via the HDMI input. Right now, my video coming into the Samsung is really good because I use the Medusa Retro Scan Doubler that I purchased from Retro Lemon a while back, probably in 2022, I think. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested, as well as a link to the Sophia 2 that I purchased from the Brewing Academy. So here is the Medusa Retro Scan Doubler. It's a great piece of hardware. I love it. Like I said, 2 years I think I've had this. No issues. It's solid. So what do I do with this? Well, what I do is I take the cable that has the 5-pin DIN. It's on one side that plugs into the back of the Atari. And then on the other end of this cable, I have one composite with 2 audio and 1 S-Video. So I take this and I plug it into a SCART. And this SCART, I only use the S-Video, and I use my audio left and audio right, and I don't plug in the video. Then I take the SCART, and this goes on top of the Medusa. But there's more. So for the output, I use this, which is a DVI to a female HDMI connection, and that goes to the back of the Medusa. And then, last but not least, I connect my HDMI cable here to my television, and I power this up. Not much to do, but the thing is I never have to unplug this. This always sits inside the cabinet, and it's always connected, and it just depends what do I plug into it. And what I plug into it is really me just switching out my connection on this end here. So whether I'm plugging in my Atari 800XL or maybe some other device that uses the 5-pin DIN, and if it's not, well, I just simply pull out these cables here and plug in the right connections, whether it's just an S-Video or if it's just all composite. I just do that, and I can still get my great quality image going through on my HD television. So there will be a little bit of quality loss as it passes through all of that in order to get to my HD TV, but it's not really bad at all. It looks really, really good. And like I said, 2 years I've had it. I've not had any issues. I'm not complaining about it. I always wanted to try the Sophia 2. Now the Sophia 2 will actually be a hardware change directly to my system. So the video output from the Atari will be at its best coming out via the DVI connection and not having to go through all of this. I will, however, need to use this adapter because the Sophia 2 will output DVI, and I need to plug that in and then convert it to HDMI to my television. Other than that, all of that goes away. It's just that and the Sophia 2 connected into my computer. Now, there are obvious advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage is what I said earlier, that the video quality will be its very best by using the Sophia 2. Well, the disadvantage? Well, it's only going to be with the system I install it into. So only one lucky Atari XE or XL will be using the Sophia 2 connection, whereas with my current setup, I can have multiple systems that benefit from plugging into the Medusa. But the quality is not as superb as it would be with the Sophia 2. So there's some trade-offs. What's going to happen is I'll always keep this because I always need to use this with other devices. So let's first open up this box and see what's included. Okay, well, looks like we get a nice instruction manual or installation manual, which is good. And I've already done my research, so I will look at it nonetheless, but I'm pretty familiar with the process of setting this up or installing it. But great to have it, so that's nice. And then here is the package of everything that I need. So let's take it out and let's see what I've got here. Again, this is for the XE/XL lines that I ordered. Well, this is everything that I'll be using to do the modification. So we have two boards that I'll be installing. This board here will be the one that will be replacing the GTIA chip, the original one that's in my system. GTIA, by the way, stands for Graphic Television Interface Adapter. I always like to clarify these acronyms because sometimes you may not know what it means. I actually use acronyms quite a bit at my job, so I know how that feels. So that's going to be key. If it's a socketed chip that I currently have, which I will make sure it is, there's going to be no soldering involved or desoldering. And this board here will be used to piggyback or connected really to this board here. And it'll be done so with this ribbon cable, which should be long, quite long, which is nice. Because this ribbon cable will connect to this board, and you can see it right there. And then on the other side of this, you can see the magic of what's going to happen. I do have a DVI output. So what I'll use for that will be the one I had on my Medusa. Connecting to that, then I do my HDMI to my television. Now, how does this get situated into the back of the Atari? Well, that's where this comes in play. So I'll be replacing the original PBI cover with this modified PBI cover. PBI, another acronym for Parallel Bus Interface. So this new one here will actually be pretty cool. It's pretty neat idea of what they did. Basically, what you're going to do now is have this connected to here and then put onto the back, leaving the existing interface in the back of the Atari as is, because I won't have to move anything. And I'll just put this on and the cable can go right between it. No cutting on the Atari case, which is nice. This is just a nice, I think this is a 3D print or molded. I don't know. Looks pretty good. 3D printed. So definitely could probably find this online if you needed to do that yourself and if you just have the boards. But hey, it came with it. $150, I believe, is what I paid for all of this. And like I said, I waited 2 years, so I can't wait to try this thing out. But before I can even begin, I got to find out which system will I be installing this into. All right, let me take the camera off the tripod and we'll take a look at what we have here in the workshop. We do have a 800XL. That's pretty much the workshop testing one. I do my videos sometimes on it and kind of test out things I get, along with some drives here, the Indus and the 1050. I also have a 130XC that I kind of use for the same purpose of that one, just for testing. Keys are kind of yellow. It's not my favorite looking or condition one, but it does work and it's functional. But let's take a walk over to this side. And let's look at the, well, we'll start at the wall here. So this is kind of like my Atari shrine, I guess. You've got all the Atari 8-bits, gaming systems, computers. But we'll focus over here. This is the 400, 800, which can't be an option for this mod. But then we have the 600XL, 800XL, 1200XL, 65XE, and the 130XE. So those are all candidates right there, but I'm not going to do that to them because this is kind of like my, what you call it, new old stock type systems because they're all the best condition systems I have. I mean, there's no modifications done to them. They've been opened up, inside out, cleaned. They're pretty much brand new looking. This is definitely not going to be an option, but that's all right because we have some more options over here. Let's see. Right here, we got a 800XL, and we have another one right here. So I have 4 800XLs, but one in the workshop, one over there for just display. This one here, I'm not sure what I'm using it for, but I do use it to type in some programs, play games. But this one is definitely the one I play games mostly on, entertain, and do what I need to do. And it's actually the one that's been modified. So this one has the ultimate 1 megabyte and the side loader. So it's already been modded, and it's a really good system as well. So might as well add to it. And I think that's going to be the candidate for the Sophia 2. Well, here's the Atari 800XL that I'll be modifying to put the Sophia 2 inside. And this is the one that I was just showing you that had the modifications already with the ultimate 1 megabyte. So it's a good choice to use since I do use it quite often on the big television. So simple choice, and I know it's socketed, so that's going to make it a lot easier. Let's first open this up. Just have the basic 6 screws in back. Okay, now we could just remove the keyboard and the top very carefully because there is a ribbon cable connected right here. That was simple. I'm going to turn on some more light here. All right, let's take a look at the board itself. As I mentioned, this was modified already, and that is where I put the ultimate 1 megabyte install. And because of that, I needed to remove the RF shield, which is why it's not on here. I needed the clearance in order to put the keyboard back on top. Also, you can notice here on the PCB that it is socketed, the RAM and the other chips, which makes this a lot easier to do modifications as well as doing this mod, which I'll be removing the GTIA chip right here. However, if your board is not socketed, not a big deal, well, not too big of a deal, you can actually put a socket in there by desoldering the existing chip and making sure you put the right pin setting for a socket. Like this would be a 40-pin socket in place. And then you wouldn't have to worry about soldering and desoldering in the future when you do have to replace that particular chip. However, some of these boards come already socketed, which is nice. But with this one, let's remove the GTIA chip here and start with that. Now I do try to make it a habit by using this anti-static wrist strap when I'm working on boards or any type of electronics. I kind of show my son this because I want to teach him the right way of doing this. However, I have to say that I have not had a static shock in this house since I've moved in here 5 years ago. And I do have these digital monitors on the humidity level everywhere. It's been pretty much always 50% throughout the year. But I am moving around a bit here and there, so in case you wonder what this blue strap is, that's what this will be. It's pretty simple. You can buy these on Amazon. And I got a whole bunch of them here. I mean, they're cheap. I think I had to buy it in a bundle, so that's why I have these. Okay, well, there is the anti-static wrist strap that I've got on, and we're going to remove the GTIA chip that's right here. Simply use a screwdriver here where I can just pry it up. There is a socket remover you can buy, but this is pretty simple, and I can get to it easily. There we go. So here is the original GTIA chip, marking 1979 on it. So we are going to install this board, which came in with the Sophia 2. Okay, well here is the board I'll be inserting where the original GTIA chip was in. And that's the writing on the board itself here. And that is going to be where the ribbon cable will be plugged into, which will connect to the other board. So let's put this in. Okay. There we go. So we're now about halfway done, kind of. So the next step we want to do is get this board out and get it prepped and ready to go. And by that I mean we want to first connect the ribbon cable to it. And it'll be connected right here. And there's the DVI out. And there's the picture of the board itself, how it looks. So the ribbon, those are my connections I'll be putting in to the board, both boards. So let's start with this one. I'll just line them up and seat it in there nicely. Pretty simple. Done. Then we want to take these screws out, or bolts. Actually, they're bolts, I guess you can call them. And why we're going to do this is because we want to use this to secure this connection to the back of the PBI cover. So once I get this removed, I'll show you how that would look. Okay. And here is that cover. So this cover will go in the back. But we need to have this fed through first and secured. So I'll feed it through and then I'll put those bolts back in from the outside of the PBI cover to hold this in firmly. Just like that. Okay, so after applying about, I think it's 80 pounds of torque, you need to use your torque wrench to make sure. No, don't do that, just a joke. But seriously, you just hand tighten this and it's going to be firmly set and it won't go anywhere. Because when this is all mounted and ready to go, I will use this, which is my DVI to HDMI adapter. I would plug that in on the outside there, and then I have my HDMI cable coming here to my television, and we're done. But until then, we can't do that yet. We still have to remove one more thing on this board, which is this metal bracket. There's not a cover, but the bracket is still there, and I need more clearance in order to feed that ribbon cable through. So that's a simple removal of these screws here. You can see these two right here. Okay, so I got that bracket out. So now we can just feed the cable in from the back side of the PBI cover, just as so. Pretty simple. And then we can easily snap in the PBI cover. It has little hooks on each side here of the plastic that would go onto the edge. So this should be pretty simple. There we go. And it's snug. It's not moving anywhere. That's how it looks. So now we have the cable connected to the outside of that DVI connection, and then we just have one more thing to do, is to connect this to the board that's where the GTIA chip was once set. So this is pretty easy. Line it up, and that's it. Making sure all my cables didn't come out when I was moving around for the ultimate 1 megabyte. It looks good. We'll move some things around here so it's not in the way when we close it down. But I think we're pretty much done here. Now I probably would like to test this out before closing it up, but it doesn't take much to reopen it. So what I'll do is I'll button this up and then give it a test on the television. But what I did before I even opened this whole thing up was I made some videos of the Atari 800XL, this one here, playing games via the Medusa, going through the Medusa for display, playing some games that we can do some side-by-side comparison of how the Medusa looks and then how the Sophia 2 looks. So you'll have that to see in just a few seconds. Okay, we're all buttoned up and ready to go. That's how it looks on the back side. I'll have this connected, and let's see how it turns out. We'll start with one of my favorite games, Wizard of War. So the image on the left is what's going through the Medusa via the 5-pin DINS S-Video connection, and the image on the right is from the Sophia 2 DVI connection. By the way, the background sounds were not pulled from these videos because it would be like dueling sounds when doing a side-by-side. And plus, we're only focusing on the video differences. This game doesn't have enough details to give a good comparison. There just seems to be like a lot of straight lines, you know, with the walls. But you can still notice that the Sophia is clearer. The next game we'll look at is the classic Pac-Man. So again, the title screen is much more clearer on the Sophia 2. Check out the green, red, blue, and yellow color differences. It's pretty clear to see the contrast and the vibrant colors. Check out the walls of the maze. That even looks much better, and the 1-up and high score on the top is clearer. Now this is probably the best colors from Pac-Man that I've ever seen in some time. Well, this will make game playing a little bit different now, at least for me, and also in a good way. Wow. Okay, here is Moon Patrol, and there's already crazy differences. Check out the details. You can see it more shown on the Sophia 2 output. Now I know that some might prefer the Medusa quality over the Sophia 2 just because it might be closer to how one might remember it from our TVs back in the day with the RF connection. But actually that would be a lot less quality than what you're seeing on Medusa. It's not even close to that. The explosions even show up a lot more crisp. And I'm referring to the Sophia 2, by the way. The last game we'll check out here is Frogger. And this is a good one because of all the colors it has. And already you can see it's like night and day. So look at the bottom of the Medusa image where you can see 2-up. It's kind of faded in the back. Whereas the 2-up doesn't even show up on the Sophia 2 side. This is definitely a perfect game to illustrate the differences. Well, I think it's pretty apparent when you look at these comparisons side by side with what I was using, which was the Medusa. And Medusa was really good. I mean, that was taking in that input from the S-Video and getting it out to HDMI, and it looked great. I mean, like I said, I was happy with it for many years. But when you throw Sophia 2 into the mix, it's really no comparison. It is definitely superior. However, the only problem, or I guess challenge I would have, is that because Sophia 2 is coming out of DVI, you're not going to get any audio with that connection coming into the HDMI. So I'll still use the 5-pin DIN and go out with the audio to my receiver, which would then pipe it out to my speakers. There's an extra component I have to do with that, but that's not a big deal. I mean, I'll just have to make sure my receiver's on to get some sound. Whereas before, I was getting sound from my television. Yeah, 10 watts, big deal, but didn't need too much sound coming from these games anyways, as far as quality goes. But now I definitely have to power on another piece of equipment to get some sound for this particular 800XL, which has the Sophia 2 in it. But hey, no complaints overall. I think it's a great mod. I guess there's one thing I didn't mention, that there is a configuration software that comes with this, or you can download it directly from actually the Brewing Academy. Basically, this software you would load on your Atari and you would configure it to the right resolution so you can have corrections if there's anything that's not showing correctly on your display after going through the Sophia 2. Fortunately for me, the default that I have set up, it works fine, looks great as you can tell from the pictures and video. But again, like I said, this is an awesome upgrade or mod, I would say, with just one little additional thing you have to add, which was the audio. But jump on this if you can get it, because it's hard to find and it's definitely worth it. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you all again for watching. And until next time, keep that gaming passion from the past alive by living it today. Take care, everyone.